This reading takes place in the book in the kitchen and really requires a prop, which I don't have, which is a hat. But that can be left to your imagination. It'll be far better dropped in your imagination than it will be than showing it. And what's happened has it's below stairs, and Corporal Trim learns of the death of Tristram's brother, Bobby, Walter's son, and they discuss the terrible news, and out of it Trim shows an example of how life is but short and fleeting. "Here is sad news, Trim," cried Susanna, wiping her eyes as Trim stepped into the kitchen. "Master Bobby is dead and buried." The funeral was an interpolation of Susanna's. "We shall have all to go into mourning," cried Susanna. "I hope not," said Trim. "You hope not?" cried Susanna earnestly. The mourning ran not in Trim's head, whatever it did in Susanna's. "I hope," said Trim, explaining himself, "I hope in God the news is not true." "I heard the letter read with my own ears," answered Obadiah. "Oh, he's dead," said Susanna. "As sure," said the scullion, "as I am alive." "I lament for him from my heart and my soul," said Trim, fetching a sigh. "Poor creature, poor boy, poor gentleman." "He was alive last Whitsuntide," said the coachman. "Whitsuntide, alas!" cried Trim, extending his right arm and falling instantly into the same attitude in which he read the sermon. "What is Whitsuntide, Jonathan?" For that was the coachman's name. "Or Shrovetide, or any tide or time past." "Are we not here now?" continued the corporal, striking the end of his stick perpendicularly upon the floor so as to give an idea of health and stability. "Are we not," dropping his hat upon the ground, "gone in a moment?" 'Twas infinitely striking. Susanna burst into a flood of tears. "We are not stocks and stones." Jonathan, Obadiah, the cookmaid, all melted. The foolish fat scullion herself, who was scouring a fish kettle upon her knees, was roused with it. The whole kitchen crowded about the corporal. "I said we were not stocks and stones. 'Tis very well. I should have added, nor are we angels. I wish we were. But men clothed with bodies and governed by our imaginations, and what a junketing piece of work of it there is betwixt these and our seven senses, especially some of them, for my own part I own it, I am ashamed to confess. Let it suffice to affirm that of all the senses, the eye has the quickest commerce with the soul, gives a smarter stroke, and leaves something more expressible upon the fancy than words can either convey or sometimes get rid of.
Do you want to do that a little bit just again?
Let it suffice to affirm that of all the senses, the eye has the quickest commerce with the soul, gives a smarter stroke, and leaves something more inexpressible upon the fancy than words can either convey or sometimes get rid of. I've gone a little about. No matter. 'Tis for health. Let us only carry it back in our mind to the mortality of Trim's hat. Are we not here now and gone in a moment? There was nothing in the sentence. 'Twas one of your self-evident truths we have the advantage of hearing every day, and if Trim had not trusted more to his hat than his head, he had made nothing at all of it. Are we not here now? Continued the corporal. And are we not, dropping his hat plumb upon the ground and pausing before he pronounced the word, gone in a moment? The descent of the hat was as if a heavy lump of clay had been kneaded into the crown of it. Nothing could have expressed the sentiment of mortality of which it was the type and forerunner like it. His hand seemed to vanish from under it. It fell dead, the corporal's eye fixed upon it as upon a corpse, and Susanna burst into a flood of tears. Now, 10,000, and 10,000 times 10,000, for matter and motion are infinite, are the ways by which a hat may be dropped upon the ground without any effect. Had he flung it, or thrown it, or cast it, or skimmed it, or squirted, or let it slip or fall in any possible direction under heaven, or in the best direction that could be given to it, had he dropped it like a goose, or like a puppy, like an ass, or in doing it, or even after he had done, had he looked like a fool, or like a ninny, like a nincompoop, it had failed, and the effect upon the heart had been lost. Ye who govern this mighty world and its mighty concerns with the engines of eloquence, who heat it and cool it and melt it and mollify it and then harden it again to your purpose, ye who wind and turn the passions with this great windlass, and having done it, lead the owners of them whither ye think meet, and ye lastly who drive, and why not ye also who are driven, like turkeys to market with a stick and a red clout, meditate, I beseech you, upon Trim's hat.